Michael, sir.
Please.
Thank you.
Michael,
Yes.
please take a seat.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you.
So Michael, I've gone through your profile,
Yes, sir.
but I'd like to know you a little better than what I know you through that written application. So can you tell me more about yourself?
Sir, I'm Michael Jom. I come from Palakkad district in Kerala. I did my schooling in Kendriya Vidyalaya and graduation in commerce from Government Victoria College in Palakkad itself. Later, I worked with bank and also I have worked with state Kerala government in different fields, especially the state coordinator of one particular Samuhiga Sannadha Sena enterprise and also as a research associate in a public policy research institute.
Very well.
And my hobbies include watching profile documentaries and writing letters to the editors of the Hindu and the Indian Express. Sir.
Very well. So what attracts you to a career in the civil services, Michael?
So it is twofold, if I can put it so. Firstly, in bank, I was involved in implementation of policies. Whether it is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, I could open thousands of accounts and I could see how drastic difference it makes in people's lives. And from I wanted to go beyond that in order to get into a stage of policy formulation rather than implementation. And civil service offers that opportunity, and that aligns with my dedication to serve the public going beyond all the technical requirements. So I chose to prepare for civil services.
But you do realize that you will be engaging in any sort of formulation, policy formulation only at a much later and advanced stage of your career.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is there, but at the same time, we get a lot of exposure. We get to deal with the ground realities. We can implement policies on a much wider platform when in civil services, and at a later stage, as suggested, yes, that will happen. All these collective experiences will help me frame better policies when I reach the top tier.
So Michael, what makes you think that you deserve to be chosen for this role?
So the first thing is my adaptability, because I am always ready to rectify myself and always change for the better. Secondly, sir, I have the passion, the genuine passion to serve the public by being more empathetic. To quote an example, I could see that my counters in State Bank of Travancore, where I was working, my counter, my specific counter, bank counter.
The counter at
Yes,
which,
sir.
okay.
Yes, sir. That used to be always crowded even when the nearby counters were empty. So that is a living example of how much preference I give to the needs of the common people. I think that can be used in a much better way in civil services.
Very well. Can you share any real life instances from your own life where you've exhibited that adaptability that you mentioned?
Yes, sir. One thing is that if someone sees me after 10 years, from after my college, he or she would not be able to even recognize my mannerisms or my way of contact. Everything, it has changed drastically, whether related to driving habits or whether regarding to being more empathetic. It has changed, undergone a profound change.
Very well. And what would you say is your do you have any sort of weaknesses that you can share?
Definitely. I do have certain weaknesses. The foremost thing is that I appear to be way more serious than I intend to, and whenever my intentions are extremely humble, people often, in the first impression is that I am very aggressive or arrogant, which is actually not the case, which people themselves tell me on my face later on, that first impression was entirely wrong about you, that you were so arrogant. So that is one thing which I have been always working upon, to smile more. And secondly, I was always emphasized in perfection. From my end, that was to an extent okay, but I used to demand that from others as well, which I think is not an ideal scenario. So I am working upon improvement of that as well.
Very well. You come from Palakkad district,
Yes,
am I
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is that where you've spent your whole life or most of it?
So I spent most of my life in Palakkad. At the same time, I have worked in Thrissur and Trivandrum as well.
Very well. So Palakkad is the place you are most familiar with?
Yes, sir.
Of the three?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so can you give me a sociological profile of the district?
Definitely. So first of all, it is a with regards to the religious composition, it is dominated by the Hindu religion, and there is a very minute number of, or considerably less number of Muslims, Hindus, as well as other, Muslims, Christians, and other religions.
Okay.
And also there is a considerable population of Jain minority that is there. And with regards to caste composition, there is Agraharams in Palakkad, where Brahmins from Tamil Brahmins have inhabited for over almost 900 years.
The much maligned Agraharams.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying the much maligned Agraharams. They are seen as bastions of casteism and imposing Brahmanism.
Personally, I don't have that opinion, because they have very well integrated into the society, and also the Kalpathy car festival, which is worldly renowned, that ensures the participation of each and every sections of the society. And thirdly, sir, the district has a considerable number of tribal population, including 3 major tribal groups like Irular and Mudugar, and the other one right now I'm unable to recollect. One among them is a PVTG as well, which is concentrated in the Attapadi tribal belt of Palakkad districts. And if I could add one more thing, the economic profile, it's more aligned with sustainability or more intensive agriculture rather than having modernization, which is lacking in the segment of agriculture in Palakkad.
You're saying agriculture is not modernized there? Is that what you suggesting?
To a great extent, yes, sir. Agriculture is not modernized.
And is that a good thing or a bad one? How do you see it?
So it is not necessarily a good thing. At the same time, it provides employment to a lot of people, but at the same time, it is underemployment or disguised unemployment that is happening in Palakkad, which can be rectified to a great extent if food processing and value addition can be implemented in agriculture sector in Palakkad.
Very well. Palakkad district is also known for, or it has been in the news for what I may call as man-animal conflict.
Yes, sir. To a great extent, yes, but not exactly.
Why?
Yes, sir. So, while comparing to Wayanad district or other such districts, Palakkad is in a much better position, but there are certain pockets like Doni and Palakkayam in Palakkad district which have witnessed man-animal conflicts. The primary reason is that these paddy fields attract a lot of peacocks and monkeys as such, and coconut farms are there in Palakkad which also attract monkeys as well. And in Doni particularly, it is a forest region where maybe if I could quote, maybe 30 years before it was an entirely forest area. Now we have 7 kilometers of road into what was forest before. So this encroachment to a great extent is the fundamental reason, I believe, a reason for man-animal conflict. And again, climatic changes are there. The water availability in the interior of forest is also reducing. That is also contributing to man-animal conflict in the district.
So who is intruding? Like, is it animals intruding into human spaces, or humanity intruding into, the domain of the ecology of animals?
So in a broader perspective, we humans have intruded everywhere because it was entirely forest before. So in that sense, yes. But even if that is okay, the scale of intrusion, scale of encroachment, which I quoted before, that has increased drastically, because 30 years before what was entirely forest, today 7 kilometers of road has, not just road, inhabitation and settlement has grown, population density has become much higher in the forest area. At the same time, agriculture is also needed for people to sustain, but there should be a balance, which I believe is not entirely taken care of these days.
How far is Wayanad from Palakkad? Is it like an adjoining district?
Not really, sir. It is around 150 kilometers. We have Calicut district, which is in between Palakkad and Calicut, as well as Malappuram districts, which is in between Wayanad and Palakkad.
Wayanad had some landslides in the recent past.
Yes, sir.
So what explains these landslides, and you think the administration was well prepared and well equipped to deal with them?
So the reasons for the Wayanad landslides, fundamental reason was the torrential rainfall, the cloudburst that happened, which fragile area could not withstand, which led to landslide. But at the same time, human activities, enhanced tourism, encroachment, construction activities, quarrying, all these have contributed to increasing the scale of the disaster. And with regards to whether the district administration was prepared, I would like to be a slightly critical, sir, because disaster management in Kerala as such, I believe it has been more reactive rather than being proactive. At the same time, the district administration did do well once the disaster struck. There was a coordinated effort, and more than district administration, the community participation was really commendable in addressing that issue.
Michael, tell me, like, you think that this whole idea of sustainable development, is it practically doable? Is it possible, or does it compromise on economic growth for environmental conservation? Does it necessarily entail a trade-off between the two?
So it depends on how we see it, how the policymakers see it. Because firstly, it is entirely sustainable, it is an entirely doable thing, because tribals have cohabited with the forest and the wildlife for so many years. That means it is entirely doable. But with the advent of technology to this great extent, I think the man's quest for more resource exploitation has increased, which our Mahatma Gandhiji rightly noted. If our intention is to make use of resources for our need, that is always possible, being in a sustainable manner. But at the same time, if our intention is greed, I believe it has a problem, which we see in US policies these days as well.
Yes. So Gandhi, his views, his writings, do you think it's still relevant in this present century?
Yes, sir. To a great extent, it is relevant. His fundamental idea of non-violence, that is even more relevant than ever in the backdrop of Russia-Ukraine conflict or Middle East conflict. That is one reason. And the sustainability aspect, which Gandhiji emphasized in that particular statement, that is also there to a great extent. And the most important, I believe, was his readiness to change and adapt. That is what is required to a great extent in the current world, where we should shed our parochial ideas, our convictions on certain things to adapt the better things.
Michael, tell me, are you comfortable talking about politics?
Yes, sir, I am comfortable. There is a limitation to my knowledge, but as far as I know, I am very much comfortable in talking.
Can you explain, what accounts for the continued hold of the left in Kerala, even as it seems to have been, nearly wiped out politically from much of the rest of the country?
Yes, sir. So, firstly, the foundation was very strong, whether it was due to the poets or the films in Kerala society. It had it created a base which the left could exploit in the early days. That is the first thing. And more importantly, the leaders of the past, whether it is A.K. Gopalan or P. Krishna Pilla, they were very much lived between the people. They were always approachable. So their legacy is still guiding the left movement today. The most important thing, the left has been decimated in other parts, but it still continues to survive, or it continues to flourish, in fact, in Kerala, I believe, because left has been ready to adapt to more right or more capitalist tendencies rather than holding on to extreme left ideologies or extreme class consciousness, which is also recently evident, where the Kerala government welcomed the private universities, attracted for private investment to public enterprises, and started collecting fee and tolls. It's talking of collecting fees and tolls for KIFBI projects. So these things were unthinkable to a great extent before. And one more aspect, I believe, sir, the scale in which it has adapted to different religions, especially the minorities who constitute a major part of Kerala. They have very much integrated with the religious, because religious ideology, the left has been integrated to it, because party membership is not close to believers as such. So it is being adaptive, that is why it is sustaining.
Very well. And how do you analyze the global decline of the left? Like, why has the left declined globally, and we have also seen a corresponding increase in popularity of right-wing forces.
Yes, sir. So globally, the image that the left has is what the brutal rule of Stalin or other exploitative activities, whether it is in China, it is such legacy that the left holds in different parts of the world, which puts it in a bad spot, first of all. And even having said that, there are certain left governments which are coming back to power, whether it is in Brazil or Latin America, that is here. But addressing the larger issue, which is the right wing, emergence of right wing, I believe these societies were largely liberal before. Because of these liberal policies, the influx of immigration, the job that is being taken away by immigrants, and also the advent of parties who are able to tap onto these anti-immigrant sentiments. These are the fundamental things which is
Parties which are able to
tap on to exploit these anti-immigrant sentiments. There are very much leaders like whether it is Bolsonaro in Brazil or Alice Weidel in Germany. They are rightly able to exploit these, and people are able to relate to this because of the advent of social media as well. So that mobilization is possible these days.
Very well. Michael, what is this famed Kerala model of development that we hear of very often?
So Kerala model of development, it fundamentally refers to the high development in social sector, whether it is health or education or standard of living, and also the decentralized nature of governance and economic participation, which is in fact peculiar to Kerala to a great extent in India. At the same time, it suffers from certain drawbacks, whether with regards to the sustainability of this particular model of development, because the economic development, the infrastructure development has been sidelined for a great extent.
Do you think that efforts should be made to replicate this model in other parts of the country? Is it replicable and should it be replicated? Both.
So it need not be replicated as such, because the Kerala model of development was made possible due to the very peculiar socio-cultural context of Kerala, which was there even before independence. So the Kerala model worked on that development as such. So it may not be able to be replicable in other states. And whether it should be replicable, again, one good aspect is that social sector development, that aspect can be considered, but at the same time we have to be careful that so it hasn't addressed the economic needs, the economic growth aspect that has been sidelined, and I believe we cannot have lofty ideals without having the means to sustain it. So it should not be replicable as such in other parts of the country.
And Michael, there was this huge project which was coming up, the Vizinjam Seaport project, which has been facing some opposition.
Yes, sir.
Why is it being opposed by the local people?
So the main reason why local people are opposing this particular project is that their livelihood would be getting lost, and also there is mass displacement as such. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. So displacement as well as the loss of livelihood, it is what is happening. I'm sorry, sir. No, thank you, sir. I'll keep it. I'll have it later. Thank you, sir. So that is the fundamental thing, and also there is a feeling of alienation from their roots, which is going to happen because of this mass scale project, and also they feel they haven't been compensated enough compared to how much economic gains that the particular company or the government is going to get. Local people feel they are not being enough compensated. So these are the reasons.
So what should be the response of the administration whenever such developmental projects are opposed by the local populace? Should the administration stall these projects, or what should it do?
So these large scale infrastructure projects, they are brought in for the very reason that it is very much crucial for the economic development, strategic leverage of the country. So they should not be stalled, but at the same time local people have to be taken into confidence. Their concerns, genuine concerns, have to be addressed to a great extent. They have to be sufficiently compensated. They have to be given employment in these projects. So if these issues are taken into account, I believe that would be a more sustainable idea of bringing in such large scale development in India, sir.
Very well. Kerala also has a rich history of social reforms.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me about some prominent social reformers from the state and what their contributions have been?
Yes, sir. So first of all, the peculiar thing about Kerala social reforms is that it has got participation from different sections of the society and different castes, from lower caste to upper caste. And the most prominent social reformer is Srinarayana Guru, and we have Mannathu Padmanabhan from the Nair community, and Mahatma Ayyangali, who was from the Pulaya community, which is a downtrodden lower caste in Kerala. So apart from this, we have Vagbhadanandan and such other reformers. And also, I believe so, this has been more egalitarian form of social reforms, where they could enjoy the respect of all sections of the society rather than sticking on to their particular caste, their particular domains. And I'm sorry, sir, I just missed the second question that you asked. It would be great.
I had asked you to name some of these prominent reformers, yes, and what their contributions have been.
Yes, sir. So with regards to Narayana Guru, he has been, though he came from the Irava community, he is no longer considered a Irava reformer. He is considered as a reformer of the whole Kerala society. His concept of one Jadi, one Matam, one Devam, that means one caste, one religion and one God, which essentially refers to humanity as such. So that has led to a great reform in Kerala society. And similarly, Mahatma Ayyangali, if I could quote, he conducted the first organized strike in Kerala history, that was to demand the educational rights of the lower caste. He said they wouldn't work in the farms of the upper caste if their children weren't allowed to learn along with the upper caste. And also the temple entry movements with Mannathu Padmanabhan, Sri Mannathu Padmanabhan, he has played a profound role in temple entry movements, and we have social reformers like K. Kelappan, such people, Madhava Menon, Sri Madhava Menon, and also Sri K.P. Keshav Menon. Such people have played a role in making temples more accessible. So all these things have cumulatively contributed to Kerala reforms.
Michael, did you get an opportunity to read up on the Hema Committee report?
So I haven't read the entire report, but I have read what has come in media as such.
Yes, so could you summarize what the report says and what important things it highlights?
Yes, sir. The primary media attention that we received was regarding the sexual exploitation that is happening in the Malayalam film industry, and also the casting couch which is happening. But other issues are also equally emphasized by the Hema Committee, which is the patriarchal nature in the Malayalam film industry, and also the presence of power groups who control all activities, and also the discriminatory treatment that is meted out towards women from the support staff to the actresses, renowned actresses itself. So it is a comprehensive report which calls for large-scale reforms and government interventions, internal complaints committee. Such things are being advocated in Hema Committee report.
Would you say it serves like as a wake-up call, because Kerala has been seen as women in Kerala have been seen as relatively much better off than in other parts of the country, and this report speaks a very different kind of a tune, it seems.
Yes, sir, that is a valid point that is being highlighted, but at the same time I would like to see that from another angle as well. Yes, women in Kerala society is in a much better position compared to many other parts of the country. But at the same time, the Kerala model of women empowerment, I believe, that hasn't been top-notch, that hasn't attained the levels it should have with the attainment in education and health itself. And I have always felt there is a patriarchy which is running deep in Kerala society, and while no one openly supports patriarchy in the public because they will obviously be receiving backlash, that exists in the four walls within home. And all the peculiar model of Kerala women empowerment I have seen is that it is always okay that women getting empowered, but still there should be a man at the top. You are not supposed to overcome the man or surpass the man. So that is one fundamental issue that is there in Kerala society, which has got reflected in Hema Committee report. Yes, so definitely it is a wake-up call to get more proactive role of women empowerment in Kerala society.
Very well. Are there any communities with matrilineal traditions in Kerala?
Definitely, sir. So Nair community is what is known for the matrilineal traditions as such. But today we have also matrilineal system which is in Tellicherry Muslim community, which is in Kannur district in Kerala. And these are the major communities which still practice to a great extent the matrilineal.
Has matrilineal reduced in its prevalence and popularity over the past few decades?
Yes, sir. Definitely it has reduced because it has also to do with the nuclearization of families and the demand for rights, equal rights from different sections of the society, especially from the new generation. Now it is just in theory, but there are certain families which still follow these matrilineal system. But to a great extent, as I pointed out, it has reduced.
Kerala is, what should I say, marketed as God's own country.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which God is it? Is it the Hindu God, the Christian God?
So I believe it is the humanity which, as Sri Narayana Guru said, when he said one Devam or one God, he was essentially referring to the basic humanity that people should have. And I believe that humanity is the God that is represented in.
Isn't it like somewhat ironic that a state with a communist atheistic government markets itself as God's own country?
So while it may seem like an irony in the first instinct, I believe it has much more deeper meaning. The egalitarian society, which almost all parties in Kerala have advocated, whether it
the what in society?
Egalitarian society.
Egalitarian society.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Which has been advocated by the left or the right or whichever party it is. I believe that is the true essence of being God's children, where all are treated very much equally rather than being discriminated against. So that aspect, I believe, that can be overcome.
Actually, let's move on to some other aspect of your life.
Yes, sir.
You've been working in the banking sector for a while.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Have you been following up with this whole fiasco regarding the IndusInd Bank, which is taking place as we speak, literally?
Yes, sir. I did read a little bit about it.
What has happened there?
So, the issue in IndusInd Bank was that the derivatives, their assets were overvalued, and it led to an overvaluation of around 2.4% of their total worth of the IndusInd Bank. And their internal audit revealed this mismatch, and it was reported to SEBI, and it has led to a drastic reduction in the stock prices. Almost it fell 27% on a single day, which is quite unprecedented in the bank's history.
Yes, and in fact, if you do you follow the stock markets?
At times, but I'm not a keen watcher of stock markets.
What we can notice is that there's an overall trend of decline in banking stocks in general.
Yes, sir.
Why is that? Any clue?
Sir, I have
from even very sound banks like Punjab National Bank, they are, and many such, they are significantly reduced from the all-time high prices.
So while I do not know the exact reason, from my general understanding, if I could speak,
please.
I think today the banking sector, it is the overall reflection of some of the crisis that is happening in banking sector. That is more, there is more, the deposit growth in fact is reducing, and the deposit growth in banks is reducing to a great extent.
Yes.
People are using mutual funds and they are directly investing in stock markets. So the deposit angle which is coming down in.
That's correct.
So that is one reason I believe. And also, sir, there have been certain risks that banks faces, such as whether it is related to NPAs, the huge influx of credit cards, the unsecured lending, that which RBI pointed out recently, that is posing a risk to the banking sector, and investors would not like to take on such risks. And I believe so there are broader factors as such which has led to the general decline of stock markets, like institutional investors moving from the Indian market to the US markets, and the general fear of the trade wars that is going to happen. And so when trade declines, the demand for credit declines, and therefore banks' assets declines, and it would lead to a ripple effect. So I believe these are the reasons to a great extent.
Very well. Michael, what is CBDC in the context of banks?
So could I please take a moment?
Please.
Yes. So CBDC refers to central bank digital currency that is being put forth by the RBI.
It doesn't seem to have taken off like in terms of adoption. So how can its adoption be, greater adoption be encouraged?
So I'm not in a very much familiar position to talk about that, but from what I have read, I'm not sure if I'm able to recollect it correctly. But if I speak on that, I think today it is limited to a great extent to the large scale players, and it hasn't been democratized to a large extent, I believe, if that is the cause. And I believe so, therefore, making it more accessible to people, in fact. That can be RBI can concentrate on that aspect.
Any major reforms in the banking sector which have been taken up in the recent past that you are aware of?
Yes, sir. The fundamental reform is the digital technology that has been taken up in banking sector, which has led to revolutionizing the sector as such, and also
revolutionizing
the sector as such.
Okay.
And secondly, the stringent actions on NPA recovery, whether it is relation to asset reconstruction companies or prompt corrective actions, such things have made an impact. And also the appointment process in banks, whether due to Mission Indradhanush, Banks Board Bureau, such things are also happening in banking sector. So I feel I have missed out on a couple of other important reforms. If I could please take a moment.
Please.
Yes, sir. So one major thing that I missed out is the entry of private banks and the small finance banks and payment banks that is introduced so as to make the banking sector to ensure financial inclusion as such. And also so many banks, public sector banks have been merged. Today we have only 12 public sector banks. So that is also a major reform that has been undertaken in the banking sector.
Very well. And you were personally associated with opening and streamlining Jan Dhan Yojana accounts.
Yes, sir.
Do you think on the whole the Jan Dhan Yojana has been successful, or it has kind of come up against a wall kind of a thing?
So I believe to a great extent it has been successful, because almost 50 crore plus accounts were opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which has led to financial inclusion. And today almost 80% of Indian population has bank accounts, according to some reports. And the most striking thing is that almost 80% of these accounts are operational. And so more credit is coming to banking, more deposit is coming to banking sector. And in that aspect, I believe so, to a great extent it is successful. But at the same time, there are certain issues that has to be addressed because the technology reach has been limited in rural areas. The digital divide still exists, and also people still prefer a cash economy, especially after demonetization. It has doubled almost the cash circulation. So more formalization of economy that has to be that has to be considered by the government as such.
Very well. Michael, you've also worked in Samuhik Sanadhesan department.
Yes, sir.
Could you please switch off the fan? Can you tell me about this department, like what is its role? And
Definitely, sir. So Samuhika Sannadha Sena, which translates to Community Volunteer Corps, is a particular organization which was started by the Kerala government, which was devised by the Kerala government in late 2019, so as to foresee...
Recently, 2019?
Yes, 2019. So it was aimed, so it was to, the basic purpose was to institutionalize the volunteering in the Kerala society. So the target was that there should be one volunteer for every 100 of Kerala population. That is how this 340,000 number was arrived, so that they could be better trained and equipped so as to deal with the contingencies and disasters that may strike the Kerala society in future. We did it in the backdrop of Oki and floods where we saw huge
Floods and
Oki cyclone.
cyclone. Okay.
Where there was huge community participation, volunteer participation, but it was not very much trained, which caused some difficulties. So the basic purpose was to institutionalize it and provide proper training.
So does this department basically seek to mobilize civil society organizations? Is my understanding right there?
I'm sorry, sir, that was not exactly what is intended.
Okay.
It tries to mobilize volunteers from different sectors of different sections of the society. Everyone who is in the age group of 18 to 50 are free to join this enterprise. It is not aligned with any particular civil society organization. It is an independent initiative as such.
So the citizens directly connect with the government and as volunteers?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Very well. And what was your job profile there?
So, I was the first state project coordinator of this particular enterprise.
Okay.
I'm sorry, sir. So the initiative, though it was devised in late 2019, in the early 2020, suddenly the COVID struck. So there was a urgent need of volunteers. So I went there as a volunteer, worked for 2 months, and it was then that the director of the department asked me if I could become the state chief of this, state coordinator of this, so that I can aid in the mobilization of this 340,000 members, and I can coordinate their deployment in local bodies, district administration and police. I could associate with the police department to supply volunteers to arrange the coordination as such.
Tell me, Michael, I mean, why does the government need such kind of a department, in the sense when you already have such a huge administrative machinery in place for various tasks?
Yes, sir.
Why does it require to mobilize so many volunteers?
So there are numerous volunteer organizations and also administrative machinery in the state, but at the same time, Kerala is frequently witnesses certain or other natural disasters at some point or the other, and it has become more frequent these days. So if we can train the volunteers to a great extent how to tackle these issues, how to, the community is the first responder in the time of any disaster. So if they can be well equipped and institutionalized, these instructions can be given, more structured form of volunteering can be done. So it is in this aspect that the
and
envisaged.
Help me understand this, like, is it only in response to disasters and calamities, or is it even for routine administrative tasks like education and health that these volunteers are relied upon?
So it was planned with the intention of planning unforeseen disaster, meeting with unforeseen disasters.
Yes.
And, so in general, it is not being used for routine tasks. That was not the original purpose.
Okay.
But at the same time, when large-scale events are being conducted by the Kerala government, volunteers are being utilized for the crowd management and such other activities as well.
Are there any issues with ensuring accountability of volunteers, and how do you go about doing that?
So
are these volunteers paid?
No, sir. These volunteers are not paid as
not
such.
Paid. Then how does the administration ensure accountability?
So these volunteers are mapped to different local bodies or different district administrations or police department as such. So they are in direct overseeing capacity. These bureaucratic bodies, they are in direct overseeing capacity of these volunteers. So that ensures a accountability to a great extent, and there is this element of credibility of volunteers. Those who are well performing, they will be those who are true to their tasks, so they will be deployed more often, and they are being provided credit, academic credit, that is being planned, that hasn't been implemented yet. So such things have been ensured to done to ensure accountability.
What is the US aid? There was all over the news in the recent past. Have you heard of this organization?
Definitely, sir.
Please.
So US aid, it is a particular mechanism of the US government whereby developmental aid was given to different developing countries and less developed countries, so as to address the issues like health, education as such. Recently there was a controversy with regards to the same, because Mr. Trump, after ascending to the presidency, he has stopped the funding for the US aid, and he has he is of the view that this should not be done anymore, because it is not being productive, it is not being useful for the US government or the US society as such, and it is an unnecessary burden on the exchequer.
And there was some controversy which had erupted in India as well, as regards US aid. What was that?
So it was regarding the 21 million US dollars that was being provided, allegedly provided to ensure voter participation in India. But later it seems the reports came out that it was not actually India, but it was to Bangladesh.
Yes.
So that was the major controversy.
Very well. Michael, you think that COVID had any long-lasting impact on society, or is it well and truly into the past now? Anything which we still, see today, which is a carryover from COVID times?
So, it may be seen as a thing of the past, but at the same time, certain repercussions, certain impacts that are still lasting in the society.
Please.
If I could quote an example, the necessity of primary health centers to tackle with these disasters in the future, that has been emphasized, and it has been taken into the health. And also the health and personal health aspect. Such diseases, I believe there are certain reports that these are causing physical ailments even today. In that aspect also it is continuing. And also the more cultural aspect, the social solidarity, how the importance of social solidarity, how societies like Kerala could tackle it much better. It was not an entirely the initiative of the government, the success of the government. It was made possible due to the participation of community as such. So focus on community, that is also there. And also the world has already got an idea how to deal with such epidemics or pandemics of such drastic scale. I believe that is going to be handy in our disaster preparedness in the future.
We came across, two divergent approaches during COVID, Michael. One was the what was termed as vaccine nationalism.
Yes.
And on the other hand, there was this alternative approach of vaccine maitri.
Yes, sir.
Which of the two approaches you would say was the right approach?
So without an iota of doubt, I would say the vaccine maitri, which we followed, our nation followed, was the best. Because vaccine nationalism, those countries which practiced it, whether it is United States or so, they were the oldest democracy. But what is true democracy? Democracy, if it has to be substantial, the substantive democracy means needs of everyone has to be addressed. So in that sense, as mother of democracy, we have done it. We have paid special attention to the least developed nations, African nations, and that is this collaborative approach, sir, that is more necessary going to the future as well.
But if I may just press upon this a bit, is it wrong for a people to expect their governments to prioritize them over other people in case of public health crisis like the COVID?
So it is not entirely wrong for people to expect that, but it depends on which country is doing it. When America does it, America has the capacity to cater to the demands of other societies as well, other countries as well. Then if America is not doing it, I think citizens should question the government. What is the true essence of democracy then? What would true essence of America being a leader in global order then? So such large scale questions should also arise. But with respect to countries which are limited by resources, I believe it is perfectly okay for them to adopt to an element of vaccine nationalism to at least to a limited extent.
Michael, what would you say, enabled us to survive the pandemic? I mean, despite India's public health infrastructure is not in the best of shape, yet we did not see the kind of catastrophe which was expected.
So the main reason I believe is the impact of this particular disease. It was not a deadly disease as such, like smallpox or so. That is a fundamental reason. Definitely the proactive measurements taken up by the government with regards to the announcement of lockdowns, prompt provisioning of services, the amount that was being paid to the common poor of this this country. The COVID platform, which coordinated the efforts of which social distancing or in fact quarantine as such measures were beneficial. And also when vaccine, we laid huge impetus on vaccine development, and we ensured that it was being provided free of cost to all the sections of the society. So that was the major game changer as well.
Michael, in your application I see that you got some scholarship to Berlin.
Yes, sir.
So have you stayed in Berlin for a while?
In fact, no, sir. I received this scholarship very recently.
It says 2024?
Yes, sir, in 2024. So that was then that I cleared my prelims. So I left it. I didn't pursue it, that scholarship. I didn't go to Germany, though I had received the visa and all. I didn't go to Germany. I prepared for mains.
And is it still valid, or is it has it lapsed?
It has lapsed, sir. That was for one particular year.
So do you think that was a missed opportunity?
So not necessarily, sir, because my intention of studying in Berlin in Public Policy Research Institute, in the Hertie School of Governance, in fact, it was to get a first-hand idea of public policy, interact with people from different parts of the world, to get a better understanding, and then come back to India and serve my society. And by aspiring for civil services, I am doing the exact same thing in a different manner. My ultimate intention was to serve in India. I believe that will be fruitful, that will be accomplished to this particular, by pursuing civil services.
You've been a research associate at Public Policy Research Institute.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Can you give me examples of some public policies which you would say have been the most impactful in terms of, how they have affected the society at large, and any policies preferably pan-India and not just confined to Kerala, if you are aware?
Yes, sir. So the first thing is the Swachh Bharat mission, which was launched, which has revolutionized the entire society, the cleanliness and the attitudinal change that it has brought in, that has been remarkable.
Okay.
Secondly, the Manrega scheme, which provided rural employment, that has addressed rural poverty to a great extent.
Very well.
And thirdly, sir, the Right to Education Act, that was also equally impactful, and we are supplementing it today with the National Education Policy to make it more Indianized and more suited to our needs.
Good choices, I would say there.
Thank you, sir.
Sometimes we see public policies like the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan that you mentioned, or even Manrega for that matter, having a very huge impact. And sometimes we also see certain public policies vanish into thin air without much of a whimper, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
So why is it like that sometimes public policies, though well-meaning, they're not able to have that desired impact on society?
Yes, sir. I believe in the policy formulation stage, the intention is correct, but at the same time, certain issues crop up because the ground realities are not addressed. The planning is not bottom-top, it is top-bottom. That is a fundamental reason. And the resource allocation, resource constraints are also an issue. And more importantly, once policy is launched, there is no feedback mechanism. It is not being corrected to the changing demands or changing nature of societal needs. So this is also one reason I believe policy making lacks to a great extent.
Do you see any issues in the execution of public policies specifically?
Yes, sir. That is a key point that I missed out, because especially before the digital era, before the direct benefit transfer era, the intended policies, the intended funds that were not reaching the real beneficiaries because of the bureaucratic red tapeism and also the collusive corruption that is happening in the system as such. So these are some reasons which I can think of right now, sir.
Can you suggest some ways to improve, the systems that we have for public policy evaluation?
So could I please take a moment to think about that?
Please.
Thank you, sir.
Have you understood my question, or you want me to rephrase it?
So in fact, what I understood is that how can we
evaluate our public policies better?
Yes, sir. Evaluate in the sense. Okay. So I believe by taking feedback from the beneficiaries, that is the first thing. There can be channels to air their concerns and feedback. Secondly, the system has to be made more transparent and accountable. People have to be made accountable, those who are implementing these policies, so that when accountability lacks, people can report it, and that policy can be evaluated. And we can evaluate the success or failure of a policy by calculating whether the intended targets have been met or it is just in the periphery. So that is also something that can be considered.
Very well. Are you comfortable talking about religion?
Yes, to a great extent I am.
So tell me, Michael, like how will you describe inter-community relations in India presently?
So inter-community relations are a fundamental right. It falls on the freedom of choice and the right to life, in fact. So to a great extent, that is there in the society, that has been in the society for so long, and that should be there. But at the same time, there is a problem when such inter-community relations are being made through fraud, through enticement, with certain ulterior motives, whether it is regarding to religious conversion or so on. So such things causes communal disharmony. So there should be some sort of restraint mechanism where evident aspects of fraud or enticements that has to be taken to task. But on the whole, inter-religious relationships, that has to be promoted, because it will ensure communal harmony in the society and will contribute to the natural and national integrity as well.
Do you think in our society, across religious communities, people have an aversion to inter-religious marriages particularly?
Yes, sir. To a great extent that was there, but at the same time I believe that is undergoing a rapid change, especially with regard to urbanization and also the huge migration that is happening in the society. So with that, the traditional bonds or the societal watch is getting reduced. So that helps people to enter into inter-religious marital relationships as well. So yes, there is a considerable changes that is happening in this regard.
Imagine if you were in charge of a communally sensitive district. If you are in charge of the administration there, and there is an upcoming, the religious events of two communities, they are clashing, lying around the same date.
Sorry, sir. Yes.
So there are underlying tensions. What concrete steps you will take to ensure that the situation does not spiral out of hand and remain in control?
So could I please take a moment?
Please.
Thank you. Sorry, sir.
My question, I repeat, is if you are in charge of a district administration,
yes, sir,
and on a particular upcoming date, the processions of two communities are, going to take place at about the same time. So how will you diffuse any tensions which may be built up?
So firstly, I would arrange a meeting of the religious leaders of different communities.
Okay.
So as to provide a sense of solidarity, and that will be aired so that there can be a solidarity ensured in larger society as well. Secondly, sir, with regards to this religious processions, we can allot different routes or different timings as which was seen in the holy celebrations in UP, where the Honorable Chief Minister allotted different times for different communities. And thirdly, sir, there should be a strong law and order system. We can the fear of punishment, the fear of getting caught, which is lacking at times. That is one prime reason why people engage in vandalism or communal riots also. So if that can be ensured, that is also that is something which can be done. And more importantly, sir, the people they pay immense emphasis on the words of the political leaders as such. They are more rooted with the people, they are more connected with the people, and they have tremendous impact on people. So if all political parties can come on board and they can conduct a mini yatra before the actual celebration, which can be coordinated by the district administration, where the idea of unity and communal harmony can be propagated in the grassroots, that can also be thought of, sir.
Very well. which religion in terms of its theology or social structures you would say you are most familiar with?
So, familiarity is Christianity, in fact, because I was born into a Christian family. At the same time, I respect all religions and the fundamental ethos of different religions.
So tell me, Michael, about the Christian community in India.
Yes, sir.
How is it, or is it in any substantial ways different from Christianity and the Christian society in the West?
So I hadn't thought of it till now. Could I please take a moment?
Please, please.
Yes, thank you, sir.
And if you're not comfortable, you can get into some other domain.
Thank you,
That
sir.
option is always there.
So if I could speak now, there is two fundamental differences that I can think of. One is that the Christianity in India has integrated to a great extent to the Indian society as such, because we can see, if I could quote an example from Kerala, the use of elephants in procession. There is a particular ceremony called minnukettu, tying knots in marriages. That is taken from Hindu society, Hindu culture, and which is not seen in the Western culture where Christianity was born, where it is entirely ring exchange. And secondly, the emphasis on conversion that has been much more in Indian society. I believe that is due to the huge number of lower caste that we have here, because they are more prone to conversion. They're what I could call they're not in a organized force, so they are more prone to conversion. And
could you repeat that last bit? They are not an organized force. Is that what you suggest?
Yes, sir, especially the tribal communities. So they don't have a very organized structure that we find in other Semitic religions. So they are an easy target for conversion, I believe. So that is not happening in the Western society. One reason is that it is predominantly Christian society that is happening there. And one more important point that I would like to note is the religious. The religion is becoming more secular in the Western countries, but in fact it is becoming more inward. Christianity is becoming more inward in India to a great extent these days. One example that I could like to quote, in UK there are so many churches which are churches are getting closed and they are turning into pubs. But in India,
to pubs.
Yes, sir. In India, what we see is there is increasing number of conversion to Christianity that is happening in Punjab or Andhra Pradesh, or even in that case Tamil Nadu or tribal belts. So these are some differences that I can spot.
Very well. Is caste present in the Indian Christian community?
Yes, sir. To a great extent, caste is present in Indian society, Indian Christian society, though it claims to be an egalitarian one. Again, sorry for going back to Kerala example, but if I could quote, the fishermen community, they predominantly belong to the Latin Catholic system in Kerala, where the Roman Catholics and the Syrian Catholics, they are more from the upper caste. So this division is always there, and even within the religious, though they proclaim religious equality, the equality of everyone being the children of God, there is this visible evidence of people propagating these caste feelings even within the churches with regards to the converts, newly converted people. So I believe so that is to a great extent there.
Michael, when you mention the Syrian Christians or the Orthodox Church, are you, dare I say, confusing sects and denominations in Christianity with castes? Are these castes? Are Syrian Christians as caste or?
Not exactly, sir. They are sects and denominations. What I was trying to point out was that these sects, they predominantly have upper caste Christians.
Upper caste?
Upper caste converts, in fact, these religions. But in the Latin Catholic community, it is primarily from the lower caste, especially the fishermen community and the Nadar community, which we have in Tamil Nadu as well as Kerala.
How old is Christianity in India? If you could just shed some light on its history.
So there are Christian believers who claim that it was there soon after the era of Christ, where Saint Thomas and a disciple of Jesus Christ came here, but that does not have much historical backing. But I believe it happened somewhere around 3rd or 4th century, 3rd or 4th current era, where Christians from Syria came in, and also the Roman Catholic denomination or the sect in Indian Christianity, they came with the advent of Portuguese. And after that, the Protestant groups came with the British and also the Dutch and Danish. Danish also had a Serampore mission in West Bengal. And the Pentecostalism as such, that is a more recent phenomenon that has come after the predominance of the United States coming into world domain after the Second World War. That led to an increase in Pentecostalism in India.
Very well. Do you think that this emphasis on conversion that you had mentioned, is it causing like frictions with the other communities?
Yes, sir. To a great extent, it is one of the reasons why there have been communal tensions, whether in Gujarat, where Graham Staines, a Christian missionary, was burnt to death, and also the Odisha Kantamal attacks on Christians, and more recently there are attacks on Jharkhand on Christian church in Rajasthan. All these issues, the fundamental reason is conversion to Christianity and the reluctance of Christian missionaries or the Christian community to respect the indigenous beliefs and practices. Earlier, I believe, sir, it used to go on as a routine practice, but today the Hindu community is also getting more organized and they are resisting these efforts, organized efforts for conversion, which is causing communal disharmony in the society.
Do you think the law strikes the right balance in this regard? Like, while we do have the freedom of propagating one's religion as a fundamental right, but then certain checks are maintained. So are we able to strike the right balance?
So fundamental rights definitely allows the person's conscious choice to convert on his own without an external pressure. But at the same time, we also have the laws which prevents conversion that is there in different parts of the country. But I believe that is very much necessary to ensure communal harmony in the society. But there is this question of how it can be proved whether a religious conversion was voluntary or forced. So such delicate aspects, there are grey areas in the legal system in the country. So I think people, rather than putting all the onus on the government, the community and the society has to be more responsible as such, so as to address these issues.
You like watching profile documentaries in Malayalam?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean profile documentaries, if you could just share?
Profile documentary is one particular genre of documentaries where certain renowned figures in the society, they narrate their experience.
Some sort of a biography?
Yes, sir. It is a kind of autobiography in the sense they narrate their own experiences without the presence of a third party or an interviewer. They narrate it on their own.
Okay.
So it lasts 30 or 40 episodes on an average.
For one person's
yes,
life story?
Yes, sir. So it is a full length from their childhood to their, it focuses more on their administrative work or their business, building business empire or such things, or their railway employees, they narrate their experiences. And it is a more of a storytelling mood. So it is a...
So do these documentaries, do they frankly lack objectivity, since it's a person's own narration of his own life?
So as I pointed out, there is always a risk of objectivity being sacrificed in narrating these. But I think as listeners, educated listeners, one will be able to differentiate between what is being objective and what is being highly subjective opinion. If I could quote an example, I have listened to the profile documentaries of different police officers, and there are certain police officers, very few of them, who always say, I did this, I did that. That means no other party was involved, no other police officer or no other subordinate or superior was involved. It is that I believe, and other police officers quote it as a teamwork, and we can obviously judge which is the correct version of the narration. So that is there, sir. Objectivity, a factor is there.
Would you like to recommend any to a non-Malayalam person who doesn't understand the language? I mean, would they have any translations and are worthy of a watch?
So they are definitely worthy of being watched, but at the same time there are certain issues. There are only transcripts or subtitles that are being available, but I believe that doesn't give the feeling of listening to a storytelling, especially in the bedtime. At the same time, sir, with the advent of artificial intelligence, such technologies, it is definitely a thing which we can look upon for the future. These can be translated to the languages of others. But again, sir, since I enjoy it so much because I am more familiar with the Kerala society and I get to listen to the insider perspectives of what is happening in Kerala society. But others may not be able to relate to it to that extent.
Very well. You've done masters in sociology, Michael.
Yes, sir.
And that is after you've come from a background in commerce.
Yes, sir.
Why did you switch, like a very different kind of a stream?
So it was plain simple reasons. One was that since I had some basic understanding of, reasonably good understanding of commerce and that background, I wanted to learn something else as well. And it aligned with my UPSC preparations as well, where sociology was my optional subject. And there was this added benefit of getting an overall picture of the society, which can be handy as an administrator. So I did masters in sociology.
Can you tell me about some latest developments in the field of sociology?
So it would be great if you could please clarify the question.
Any new developments, something which will enlighten me to like what is really happening in the field of sociology?
So I'm not in a position to give an expert opinion on that, but at the same time I believe the indigenous sociology, with respect to the Indian society, the narratives that were long subdued, apart from certain thinkers like IAS Gurukul, the essence of selfhood that is being more emphasized by certain sociologists these days. And we are drifting away from the Western narratives and providing more indigenous narratives.
Could you give any examples of this kind of work?
Yes, sir. So I'm not sure if it would fall within the ambit of sociology entirely, but it is a mix of sociology and history, I would say. Our sociological understanding of Indian society is that it has been long propounded that we began our modern history with a defeat in Battle of Plassey, but there are certain indigenous narrations or indigenous accounts these days which suggest that we should begin it as with the Battle of Kolachal that happened in 1741, where ours was the first, Indians were the first power to defeat a European power. So that gives a societal pride, and our attachment to the roots becomes more pronounced in these narrations. So I think that is a welcome development.
Very well. Who would you say, Michael, is your favorite sociologist?
So in Indian sociology, my favorite sociologist is none other than the father of Indian sociology, IAS Gurukul. And in the Western sociology, I would one of my favorites, or the most favorite in fact, is Michael Jom, whose concept of public sociology has been fascinating.
Very well. Could you list the names of some of the books authored by IAS Gurukul?
So at this moment I'm unable to recollect everything, but Caste and Race in India is one fundamental book. I'm sorry, sir, the other books I'm unable to recollect right now.
Very well. Could you tell me in summary form, like what does Gurukul say about Indian society? Dhanyavad.
So IAS Gurukul led a more integrationist approach of Indian society, where he even quoted the Vanvasis as backward, Vanvasis or the tribals as the backward Hindus. So it is a sense of unison that existed in Indian society, which is largely different from the Western understanding of Indian society, which saw it as a fragmented society.
Very well. How would you say, like you've mentioned, one of the subjects that you've studied in detail is sociological research.
Yes, sir.
Has research in sociology changed in any significant ways because of the inputs now that we have in terms of digital data?
Yes, sir. Some certain things like certain research methodologies, I believe, have become outdated, like providing physical questionnaires also, and the interview method, which I experienced in the research policy, research associate as in Public Policy Research Institute. I could feel that people are not having enough time to give an interview or give a detailed analysis. So with the advent of digital technology, I think it has been made more easy, and more the reach of these research methods have grown manifold, and with the use of data, that has revolutionized the system as such, because we can pinpoint even the intricacies of different societal behaviors with the help of artificial intelligence and so on.
What is postmodernism in sociological theory?
So in postmodernism narrative is that there is no single objective truth in sociology as such, because everyone has subjective understanding of society or subjective interpretation of every happening, and it is wrong to insist on one fundamental meta-narrative that we see in modernism, like objective truth or extreme use of scientific methods. Such things are not anymore practical in the postmodernist era, where the subjective experiences have to be given a great emphasis.
Michael, what is your sense? Can India be considered a postmodern society in any way?
So I believe India is a mix of both. India has the mix of tradition in our society, the elements of modernism which see in constitution as such, and the tradition in fact in the endogamous marriages that is happening, and also there is this postmodern narrative as such, because we have different narratives on a single aspect in Indian society. If I could quote an example, and there is an excessive thrust on individualism that is going on in this Indian society these days. If I could quote an example, today teachers, their hands are tied because they are not able to guide students on one particular path, because the postmodernists argue that every child has his or her own right. There is a gray area, what is right and what is wrong. So how can a society be driven in a chartered path? So such ambiguities arise in current society. So it is a mix of everything, sir.
Very well. Amongst the classical thinkers in sociology, anybody whose writings has impressed you much?
So one is Karl Marx, whose idea of society, yes, it was highly utopian, and at the same time it has been implemented in a draconian and bloodshed. It has resulted in huge bloodshed in different regions, but his fundamental idea of the conflict theory, the conflicts that exist in power structures, which lay the foundation for very other different fields, I think that is very much relevant, because that is very much relevant in Indian society as such, where we have economic inequality and social inequalities. His ideas provide a basis from which we can look upon these things.
So, can I describe you as a Marxist?
I'm sorry, sir. I believe I wouldn't fall into that particular criteria. Yes, I respect the idea of Marx that there should be an equality in society, but at the same time, the idea of a truly classless society, I believe it is highly utopian, and we have more indigenous, or we have more modern or ways of looking at it, where we see government interventions are trying to reduce inequality, but we are not entirely shunning capitalism at all. So I wouldn't fall in that particular criteria.
Have you read any of Marx's works?
So I have tried to read an abridged version of Das Kapital, but it was too tough to handle, but I couldn't complete it. Sorry.
So thank you, Michael. That will be it from my side.